John Edwards for MaryvilleSaints.com and alongside head coach David Korn. And coach, it's been a couple weeks since we've had a chance to talk. You started your conference play on the road, 3 straight games on the road, coming out of it 2-1.
Yeah, I mean, I think, it's never easy to travel on the road. We've seen, a lot of different, travel challenges, some going up to Illinois Springfield, up and back in that day, traveling out to Kirksville, having an early game against Truman, and then playing, in the middle of the day in pretty extreme heat against Quincy. And, I think we learned a lot from those 3 games. All 3 teams provided, unique challenges. I think we continue to show growth, which is what we want at this point of the season. Happy to get, 2 wins. Certainly would love to have found wins in all 3, but for us, what we can control is how we prepare this week and what we do moving forward.
It's been a while since we've chatted, so let's go back a little bit. You take on the number 3 team in the country in Lynn to start your home part of the schedule, and you get a goal in the second half, and you knock off a pretty powerful team in Lynn.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was a great way to start the season for our guys. It was nice to see us battle back from a goal behind in the first half. Find a really good free kick from Mirza. I thought we created a number of chances in the second half. And then in overtime, I thought we, really, did well putting pressure on. I think, as the match went on, they seemed to fatigue a bit, and we took advantage of that. And, really good goal from Victor to set us off in overtime.
You take on Tiffin a couple days later. How much were you hoping that the momentum from the game against Lynn carried over into that game? And was there a little bit of a letdown?
Yeah, we finished the preseason with Tiffin. We played Davenport in the second one, but that's all right. Just in regards to that game, I mean, I think we didn't start the match well. I'm not sure if I could pinpoint a letdown as much as I think Davenport started with a ton of energy. They were a little bit more direct and put us under a lot of pressure early in the game, which when we compared that to the style of play that we saw with Lynn was quite different. I don't think we handled it as well as we could have in the first 10 or 15 minutes. But I thought as the game went on, I think our shot count, our chances were tremendously in our favor, and we just felt confident we were going to get a couple goals. And again, I thought the guys responded really well, and I think we really could have had a third, fourth goal, and if we had been a little bit more efficient in that game.
You then travel out to Kansas City to take on Fort Hays State, a 1-1 draw. Then you open up the GLVC season against the Illinois Springfield team, a game that got moved from one location to another. You lose that one 1-0, and talk about that game a little bit.
Yeah, it's been interesting traveling up there. I know they've got a grass field, and it seems like sometimes there's been some issues with it. Obviously, we were presented with having to play off site, which provided its own set of challenges. It was a tough grass field. It was really windy, so one half you were with the wind, one you weren't. We I think needed to be better with the wind at our back in the second half, creating chances. I thought against the wind we did pretty well. Again, with their style of play, I thought we managed some of the things they presented. We had our backup goalkeeper Nick Heeman step in because our starting goalkeeper had just a tight back that week. And I thought Nick did a tremendous job. So again, I think going on the road, traveling that day, playing off site, handling a bit of adversity, I thought some of those things we did really well. Just, we weren't dangerous enough in the attack. And that was something that I think the guys really took to heart in training and our preparation last week. And it was great to come out with 4 goals in our next 2 games and see us be a lot more efficient in the attack.
You go to Truman State, pick up a win there on the road. Never an easy place to pick up a win. And then you pick up a win last Sunday against Quincy, an even tougher place to play and pick up a win on the road. And how important is it for your group, despite the fact that you have a lot of veteran presence within the team, to go on the road and pick up some of those early season wins on the road?
Well, I mean, I think anytime you can get wins is important. We tell our guys following the game, don't take a win for granted. It's a really difficult conference, despite if a team could sit 14th place, 15th place. There's not often a lot of lopsided results. The games are challenging. Some of the teams have really difficult venues, stadiums, or just logistics to deal with. So anytime we get a result is really positive. It was great to keep a clean sheet against Truman State. They're a challenge to deal with, especially on restarts. Quincy, we knew, was a really good attacking team. And so I think that was good for us to have to deal with, some really good midfielders, some really good attacking players up high for them. And yeah, to get two results was really positive, and certainly think we have to keep getting better in terms of our performance over the course of 90 minutes. But being 6 games in, I think we're happy with the progress of where we were to our first game in preseason. Certainly, I hope if we chat again in 6 games that we've got even more complete performances and even more mature play. But so far, the growth has been good. I think the energy and commitment has only been better and better these last 2 weeks. So I'm excited to see how our players build on that and how they really dig into the next few days.
You take on a very tough Rockhurst team. They are one of the teams in the conference that gives everyone fits, a deep squad as well. What is the challenge against Rockhurst that we should expect on homecoming weekend, especially?
Well, I mean, you said they're deep. They might play 22, 23 guys a game. I mean, that makes it difficult from a scouting standpoint. They've got a lot of quality players, a lot from the St. Louis area. So for those guys, I'm sure they'll be excited to come home and play here and in front of a lot of friends and family, and and probably players that a lot of our guys are familiar with because they might have been teammates in high school and club, et cetera. So we're excited. I mean, it will be a challenging game that they need to win and continue to move up the standings just like we do. And so we're going to have to make sure we deal with some of their pace and some of their attacking players. And we need to do a good job of keeping possession, putting them under pressure, and hopefully forcing some mistakes with the way that we press and defend.
You get a weekend at home, you get William Jewell on Sunday, and then it's back on the road for a few more games. Do you like the balance of the schedule the way it's been this year? I mean, you end the year at home with a weekend, but do you feel like for your group, with the way it is and how much they've kind of gone through earlier this season, are you comfortable with the balance of how it's gone so far?
Well, I mean, the challenging part with the conference is we alternate home and away, so we don't get a ton of control over that. We got to work to try to set up our 3 non-conference games and our 3 exhibitions in a way that would prepare us for the season. We tried to figure out a balance in those 3 non-conference games and 3 exhibitions between on the road, at home, different types of opponents that we thought would prepare us for the season. I don't know if I would say I like or don't like the balance of the conference schedule, especially since we don't get a chance to choose it. But I think that's what's put before us. Even the mixture of games, the order. Some weekends we're home for one, away for another, and that's not unlike a lot of other teams and how we balance our buy-in there. So I think what we can do is control kind of how we prepare for each week. Sometimes that's adjusting a training time. Sometimes that's adjusting the volume and load of training with travel. But the good news is we got a lot of really good players and guys that spend a lot of time doing extra work and really investing in their own development. And if we do those things, I think whether we're home or away, we give ourselves the best chance to be successful.
You got an opportunity earlier in the season, and it continues now to get guys a lot of minutes. And how important is that for one, the health of the team, and two, the familiarity for those guys to play with each other that maybe they don't play with on a consistent basis?
Yeah, I mean, that I think it's huge. I mean, we felt like that was something that, even 5 and 6 years ago was an area we had to really grow in was, having 2 or sometimes 3 really good players at each position because, with injuries, with the length of the season, with needing to rotate players, with playing 2 games in 3 days, that's a challenge. We saw that against Quincy. I think that really aided us. I mean, it was 90 plus degrees in the turf. We had just traveled to Truman. We now had traveled to Quincy on the same, 3-day span, and that was a lot. So I think, having forwards that could come on and were fresh, having wide players, center mids, and even having defenders that could step into that role, I think that went a big way to us being successful in the last 15, 20 minutes of a game. And a lot of our goals have come in the second half, which I think, again, hopefully that's as the game goes on, our depth, our freshness is important. I also think it helps us in training. It's not easy to pick an 11 players, which is a good challenge to have. And sometimes that's hard to look at guys that are good enough to be on the field and play more minutes. But I do think over the span of the season, that's going to be something that hopefully helps us continue to improve. And, we're getting more guys back and healthy. So that's that's a really good thing. I mean, that's a place we want to be. And, we want to have, 20 plus guys at any point in time, depending on COVID, depending on travel, depending on the tactics of the game, that we have ways that we can find a result.
One of the things that it changed from last year to this year, actually the last couple of years, this year is it has been in your back four. You've had Dom back there, and you've had Fabian there last year. You've also had Andrew there too. This year, Cameron Caldwell comes in, and talk about the significant role he's played for your team this year. And it his speed makes up for the size maybe you don't have on that side.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's done a tremendous job. When he came in a year ago, we really thought he had a ton of potential. And I think what has been great is he's leached on to some of those guys that you mentioned and some of the older players. And he's been a sponge for the first 12 months he was here, doing everything he could to improve. If it was on the field, off the field, he wants to meet every week and do individual film sessions. He's a guy that's, constantly paying attention to extra training with players. So I think his growth in just a matter of 14, 15 months has been huge. He played this summer at a really good team back in Kansas. And I think that really helped his development. Actually played in two teams now that I think about it this past summer. And he surprised us coming into preseason. I mean, we weren't sure, again, how he would do in only his second year. And for him, this is a newer position. He had played a lot in midfield as well as in the back. But we really think he's not only right now been a really important player and piece for us, but we think years to come, he's going to be a big part of that back line.
Going into the weekend, talk about the healthier team. We're still probably a third of the way through the season. Talk about the health of the team coming into this home weekend.
Yeah, I mean, we've been fortunate that we had a couple things to start the season. A few guys that were coming off things in the summer, and if we had 20 healthy field players in training, now we've got 24, 25, 26, and even a couple more guys that will be back in the next few weeks. And hopefully that number continues to get bigger. Sometimes in the season, you'll have a player or two that pick up an injury or knock. Again, hopefully that doesn't happen. But I think the good news is as we get other guys coming back, into the fold, hopefully that kind of balances things out. I think last spring that was a challenge. The second half of the season was, we were really struggling for numbers with injuries, and I think to have some depth and support, I think that's going to be something that benefits us through the year. And I think our guys have been really mature in how they prepare, because we have players at a lot of different places. Some that just played 90 minutes on Sunday, some that didn't travel that are coming back from injuries, some that just had small things that they're working through, and some guys that are still fighting to continue to grow their minutes in the team. And they've all handled different things that we've asked of them in terms of the training load and volume and what they're doing. And I think that they know that, hey, we're all working for the team's success. And I think that's going to be really important, is how much we put in for that shared goal.
Talk about homecoming weekend. You had such a strong supporting the first weekend of the season. Talk about that and what that's meant for the group, to see the amount of people that have been coming out to the home games so far early this season. Homecoming this weekend, so you got a lot of alumni coming back to town. And what does that mean for you as a coach who's been here for a few years now, and for what some of the players that have been around for a while now too?
Yeah, it's awesome, John. I think especially because last year we had such restrictions due to COVID on fans, to start the opening weekend and have, I mean, even the cheer and dance squads out there, they were awesome, and they provide a ton of energy. We'd love to have them at every game. To have so many student athletes come to the game, and then on top of that, parents, fans, people in our Maryville community, as well as a number of even players that might be interested in the university and the program, and recruits, things of that nature. So it makes a super environment for our guys. We know that especially the Sunday game with the tailgate, with the food trucks, we know that tends to be a really big game. But both Friday and Sunday, I'm sure, will be really good crowds, especially with so many overlapping players from St. Louis on different teams that we play. So it's exciting. I mean, I think it's an awesome place for our players to play. It makes for a fun environment, and it only increases the overall energy of things. So we really appreciate all of Saints Nation showing up. We're excited for our alumni this weekend. It's the 50th year of the program, so I know they're excited to come back not only this weekend, but through some other events that we'll have to kind of celebrate that memorable year. And we feel lucky to be in such a great place and so well supported in our 50th year by the university and the community.
And on top of it, you actually might get some weather where it's not 100 degrees.
That would be awesome.
Coach, we appreciate a few minutes of your time as always, and we look forward to seeing you back at Maryville Field this weekend, and best of luck this weekend against Rockhurst and William Jewell.
Well, thank you so much for all you do and for calling the games and putting so much into the program. So thank you.
Anytime, Coach. We'll see you this weekend.
Take care.